What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of B is for Build. In today's episode, my car is chock full of car parts and goodness. We got steel for the roll cage, we got wheels for test fitting, we got all sorts of brake components for downsizing our brakes and rotors. So you can probably guess what we're going to be doing. Brakes, rotors, calipers, test fit wheels, finalize roll cage. That's the game plan. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back in the shop and I've just done a ton of unboxing from all the goodies that ECS Tuning has sent us. So back here you got the front brake calipers, brand new Hawk High Performance pads, rear brake calipers, and brand new rotors all the way around. Now this is essentially our BMW 5 Series, generic 5 Series, 550i, whatever you want to call it, downgrading kit to downgrade from the M5. Now, reading the comments today, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of people didn't listen when we talked about the downgrading last time, and a lot of people also don't understand how brakes work. So I will quickly break it down. Basically, the wheel and rotor and brake combo, just the rotor and brake caliper combo on the front here is the main culprit. It's much, much too large to run any type of wheel that looks normal on a Datsun. I can't fit any wheel on those that's even an 18, but in the front we're trying to run a 17. So you don't want to run 19-inch wheels on a Datsun. It looks ridiculous and embarrassing. It looks like a clown car. So you want to downsize it. Now people are saying, oh, it's unsafe and blah, 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 blah. No, we've cut the weight of, those brakes are meant to stop a 5,000-pound BMW M5. This is going to be a 2,500-pound 240Z. So you can see we don't need as much braking power. Also, big brakes have more stopping surface, so yes, they can lock up the brakes, but mainly what they're used for, these giant rotors and these giant brakes, is to be able to also operate under high temperatures and disperse heat rapidly. So for racing, like what M5s are used for frequently, you're driving as fast as you can into a corner, then you're smashing on the brakes to slow the car down, and then you're accelerating right out of that corner as fast as you can once again. It's not what this car is even being built for, but again, when you don't have that 5,000-pound vehicle force, the momentum of the vehicle going into the corner, it uses a lot less friction and a lot less power to stop the car, and then as speeding up and continuing on. So we don't need as crazy of a brake setup. But basically, I'm not running a 20 or a 19-inch wheel on a 240Z because it looks ridiculous. This car is, going to a big car show, but more importantly, there's just no reason. So the solution to this is finding a middle ground, and that's why we're still running a brake and a brake caliper setup that is used to stop a 4,000-pound car. These are 5 Series brakes. They're not like stock 240Z brakes or anything like that. These are BMW 5 Series brakes with high performance pads. So basically, you could take your 5 Series, throw those pads alone on it, and you're going to perform a lot better on the track. I know I've ran those myself before, and you're going to have lots of stopping power and all that stuff. Now, take that, it's a 4,000-pound vehicle. We're aiming to cut 1,500 pounds off of that, and that's what we're left with. So, you guys in the comments, I hate to say it, but you are wrong on this one. These brakes are going to be definitely sufficient for this vehicle, and the reason we are downsizing them is to be able to fit a realistic size wheel on this vehicle so it doesn't look like a train wreck. And pardon the interruption, Eric just got here. So like I was saying, I'm going to continue working on these brakes. I'm going to disassemble that rotor and go ahead and put the new rotor on, and we'll look at the new brake caliper on the rear. While I do that, Eric is going to be working on rebuilding the A-pillar bar that comes down right there. So he's going to grab the new tubing that I bought, the new DOM tubing that I bought, throw it in the tubing bender and bend it up and start cutting it up to length and notching it. All right, well, I got the wheel and the rotor and the caliper all on there. I wanted to show you what it looks like with the 18-inch wheel on the whole package. I struggled a lot with considering what to do with the dust shield. Leave it on and have a little bit of protection, but it has some overhang, so it looks a little weird. Or take it off and risk whatever happens without a dust shield, which I don't think is that much, but I have no idea because I've never tried running a car without one. So if anybody knows what life without dust shields is like, please leave a comment below. Anyway, so that's what it looks like with the wheel on, and this is the Koenig 18 that we're running in the back. That's an 18 by 10.5 in the back. We're running a 17 by 9 in the front, which we'll work on in a second. But let me take that off, and then I'll show you the guts of it all. With the wheel taken off, this is what the rest of the braking situation looks like. We got our ECS rotor right here, and then our standard 5 series brake caliper right there. So this is their slotted version of the rotor. They come in plain or drilled and slotted or drilled or just slotted. So there's a bunch of different variants. We got this variant, and this is all, like I said, like standard 5 series stuff. And it all fits on here just fine. You can see that we actually have like perfect fitment between the caliper and the rotor like we'd want. The only problem was we couldn't run the stock drum e-brake for the BMW, but that is okay. I actually didn't want that on there anyways, because we're going to be running a hydro e-brake on the back of this, because I think that will be more fun. And since we're plumbing our own brake lines, it really won't be that hard to integrate. And I might have cut the stock e-brake lines a couple weeks ago. Anyways, moving on to the front, we'll go ahead and install all the same type of stuff over here on the front. Well, we ran into a big ass problem right here, and I'll talk about that in 1 second. For now though, Eric just finished up the first of the A-pillar bars. It was a lot of work to get it all coped perfectly with this bend and that and everything, so it lines up around here perfectly to gusset it. So now that he's got one done, he's gonna go ahead and make the second one to mirror it, so it'll be easier with them outside of the car. So I'll make the second one and then we'll weld them both in. Coming back over to the wheel situation, it's pretty simple. If I just grab the wheel here and we go to start test fitting it, we're hitting the strut like super early. So we don't have a lot of room from that hub face to the strut tower right there. And that was not something that I knew when I got these. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure the gap, and then what we're gonna have to do is probably run a little bit less wide wheel in the front, maybe an 8.5 inch wheel. I don't know, I'm gonna look and see what Koenig has. And then we need to run, this has a 35 positive offset, so that means 35 millimeters off center towards the front. So we need to run something a little bit closer to a 0 offset or whatever it is that brings that center of the wheel back this way, so it can fit on the face without hitting the strut tower. Alright, so I got a lot of stuff figured out about this. The wheel definitely fits over the brake and rotor and caliper with this configuration. It looks good, looks nice, and the wheel fits over it. The only problem is obviously the wheel is hitting, and about a 1-inch spacer would make us clear. So I might just go ahead and get a 1-inch spacer and throw it on there. That way we can run these 9-inch wide wheels. The other option is to downsize to an 8-inch wheel, but then we're still probably running a 1/2-inch spacer. That's just due to what Koenig offers as far as wheel sizes and wheel offsets, and I am not gonna, they might go ahead and make me a custom wheel, but I'm not gonna ask them to because it's seriously not that big of a deal. Back fits perfectly. This, I think we need about 1 inch to a 1/2 inch of spacing. Not a big deal. Moving on, Eric has finished coping and cutting both of the pipes, so we're gonna go ahead and weld them in. Well, he's gonna go ahead and weld them in. I'm gonna watch. All right, the A-pillar roll cage bars are both installed. They look fantastic. Let me stand in the front so you can see. Nice and square, and then we're gonna have gusset plates running along each side there. It looks fantastic. Eric did a great job of building these and welding these up. And so you can see, obviously, they come from the halo bar and come down to here. Let me show you what it's like when you're sitting inside. So when you're inside, you're somewhere like this, and when you look up, you got this bar right here, and then you have the top of the roof right here. So you're actually not really blocking your vision much at all. And then when you look left, you have this bar here, but that's hiding kind of right behind the A-pillar. So although, yeah, it's like, yes, there's a bar here, but it doesn't really hinder your vision much. So that was something that was really important to me. I didn't want to have it way out here with a big gusset trail going down there or a dimple dyed plate trail going down there, because it would block a bunch of your vision. So I really didn't want it to be like that. So I was trying to hide everything behind the A-pillars so we could have plenty of vision. And we did that, which is awesome. Because I want this car, although, you know, it's not supposed to be a race car or whatever, I do want it to be something that when I jump into it, it's not crazy foreign to me and where I feel like I can't see. That's one of the reasons that I feel like I don't immediately jump in the Evora to drive it a lot of places, is the visibility is really tough to get used to, and I feel like I'm gonna hit something. So that's fantastic. Now that's almost all of the stuff for the main cabin as far as the main bars, except for this bar that needs to run kind of like what I'm calling kind of the dashboard bar or something like that. But we're gonna run a bar that goes from here and loops around and comes back over there. And the goal for this is to mount it up as high as we possibly can, because later on we have things over here in the strut tower that'll need to tie into it and then we'll want to use it for support. Also, it's just great cross support, because you can see that there's actually, besides the frame, there's nothing in the front here that stops it from, I think that's called like torsional bending or whatever. I'm not really sure. Anyway, so Eric's gone. He's doing some other stuff tonight. It's all on me now to do this. I think I can do it. So I'm gonna do 2 bends in a piece of pipe coming across there, 2 bends that will sort of go kind of like that way, kink straight, and then that way back in. And then I gotta notch them up, and then I'll obviously, you know, I'm only gonna tack weld them. I'll give you guys an update after I get a nice bent piece of pipe going. All right, I couldn't have that hook there. That was getting in the way of my tube game. But I left the backing though, in case we need to weld anything metal to the front of this thing. That'll be a nice reinforced spot that we can weld off of. Okay, now I can get to bending tube. All right, well, the bending of the tube section of this project went fantastically well. I really like the way that looks and how it fits up with everything. Next is the part of notching it to match with these rails. This is gonna be really tricky because this is moving out and down at a 45. So I'm gonna lay that thing flat. I'm definitely gonna notch it at a 45-degree angle like that. And then I'll probably just try and use the grinder and grind off the inside of one of the sides to adjust for how much of an outward angle we have. The other thing too is, since they are moving out, depending on how high you get, it changes the width back and forth. So it's a really, really tricky cut and notch. I really don't want to mess it up because I spent so much time bending it. So I'm going to be ultra, ultra careful this time and really cut just a little bit first and then move on from there. So I'm going to use a measuring tape though and just measure the length, everything from, even though it's a curve, I'm just going to measure length and then measure length using the front part as the straight edge, and hope it all comes together. Success! I got the front bar coped and matched up in here real nicely. It's looking good against the A-pillar rails, and that's in a good position. It's basically as far back as I can get it, which is what I wanted. Make sure we wouldn't eat up any of that precious dashboard room. And yeah, it's gonna be a really good piece to build off of, I feel like. Firewall can build off of that and different things like that. And then obviously we'll go forward from there with our strut towers. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the welder and I'm gonna tack it in a couple places. I'm not gonna fully weld it up because I think that's definitely a job best left for Eric. Okay, I got that front bar all tacked in there, so that thing's not gonna go anywhere. Well, I might as well take that little bungee cord off. Aha, proof. It's not gonna go anywhere until Eric welds that thing up. And then it's also going to continue not to go anywhere. I wanted to show you guys something. If you look back here at how everything lines up, this came out so symmetrical. It's so impressive. Eric did such a good job with lining up these pipes. I know he spent a lot of time on those A-pillars today, but everything is super, super symmetrical. Gaps are the same. Everything looks really, really good and is all lining up really well. So I'm very, very happy with the way that that turned out. So still to come on the roll cage. I mean, I'm calling this the cabin section kind of done. Optionally, we're gonna wanna get door bars in here eventually. I'm gonna make that kind of a lower priority because we can obviously drive without them and we can add them in anytime. But we do need to have door bars. We're planning on doing kind of the NASCAR style door bars that run too wide down through here. And then sooner than later, we're gonna do the strut towers that are gonna come off of this dash bar and this A-pillar bar. They're gonna come out and build our strut out here. We have a basic plan for that, and I'm actually really excited to execute that and get this thing to be a roller. And to do that, as I mentioned before, I gotta order a 1-inch wheel spacer for the front. I've decided that is the method I'm gonna go with. While we were on that subject of the wheels, the rotors, and everything, let me know what you guys think about the dust shields. I think we should probably take them off, but I don't know, again, if it's gonna be too crazy. But I wanna give a huge shout out and a huge thanks to ECS Tuning for providing us and hooking us up big time on this build with the rotors and the calipers and the brake pads all the way around on the car. When I was first in contact with ECS Tuning about partnering up on this build, they said it's pretty simple what we do. We're automotive enthusiasts that like to help other enthusiasts. And as I worked with them and learned more about these guys, it's like that is very, very true. They're extremely knowledgeable about the platforms that they support. They run a great website. They have a lot of great features that make it easier for you to get, you know, the job done that you want. They have these kits available where it's like they got all the parts. They already know all the parts that you're going to need to do the different project. For instance, like an oil change kit for this engine, or maybe the whole bearing change kit. They have them both on that site, and you know, it makes it easy, it makes it fast, and you don't feel like you're forgetting different things. So they support BMW, Audi, and VW. If you guys are working with any of those platforms, guys, I super recommend it. Hit the link in the description, see what they have out there for your vehicle. They have their own lines of parts. They support racing parts and OEM parts as well. So you can't really miss. Support people that support BS for Build. That's my motto. That's my new motto. I used to say that all the time, and then Roadkill guys stole it, and I was like, shucks. All right, another very pertinent BS for Build news. I called up China and I started production on all of our merchandise last night. Hence the bags under my eyes. So that's going. We'll have it here for you soon. We got the Z Club shirts coming. It says in BS for Build we trust on the bottom. I don't know if you should trust us, but it says it. And other than that, tomorrow I have to go pay for my new car and run some errands, and I have a very big meeting that I have to do. So I'm not 100% sure if there's gonna be an episode, but I will try. All right, guys, that is a wrap for today. Roll cage is done. I'll see you soon. Peace!